Hello everybody. Today we are going to learn about productivity improvement in coconut. So, possible causes for low productivity in coconut lands. What are the possible causes? First one is old plantations, senile plantations. That means aged plantations with low productivity. So, poor genetic materials is another thing. Poor parents. That means poor parents. Parental factors are very poor. Healed by parents, mother and father plants are very poor. So monoculture plantations is another thing because it can develop more weeds and pests damage. And climate change influence of drought. The global warming will increase the temperature and creating droughts, more and more droughts. And heavy rainfalls will also affect uh, in severe things in for the flowering, pollination. So and also the in the seaside, sea erosion, sea what you call tsunami will increase the salinity in coastal lands, and pest and disease outbreaks is another thing affecting. Poor management practices such as poor irrigation, poor fertilization, poor pest and disease management will be a reason for low productivity in coconut cultivation having lands. So climate change. Let's look at them one by one. Climate change. Climate change um, Climate change causes an extreme weather events which leads to heat stress, high temperature. With the climate change occurs due to the enhanced greenhouse effect. That means releasing of greenhouse gases such as CFC gas, fluorocarbon, and CO2 gas, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and H2O also act as a greenhouse gas, and also there are oxides of nitrogen, nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen monoxide, uh, sulfur dioxide, like gases will retain in the atmosphere and absorb sun's heat, increase in the atmospheric temperature. So this increased temperature will increase droughts around the world, around the ecosystems, around different ecosystems. So it will lead to heat stress because moisture content is a critical point during the flowering stage of coconut. You know, after the non-visual period of 32 months, a space will be open and flowering will be occurred. And then at that time, if the sufficient amount of water is not given for the plants, what will happen? Butternuts will fall, tender coconuts will also fall. Therefore, having moisture content is very critical. So, pest and disease outbreaks leading to reduced agricultural yields. Due to the climate change, pests will also be active at that time, causing more and more damage, leading reduced agricultural yields. Hence, climate change adaptation and mitigation techniques should be adapted to sustain the coconut yields. Mitigation. So, on average, coconut plantations sequester 17 to 80 metric tons of atmospheric carbon dioxide per hectare per year. So 80 metric ton of carbon dioxide is required for a hectare per year of coconut plantation for the photosynthesis. So total carbon stock, total photosynthate of 25 to 26 year monocrop cultivation plantation is around 30 to 70 metric tons per hectare. So equivalent to 110 to 257 metric tons of carbon dioxide. So that means by storing or by using 257 carbon metric tons of carbon dioxide, carbon stock is photosynthesized in coconut plantation of 1 hectare. Around 70 metric tons of carbon is stocked using 257 metric tons of carbon dioxide. Using 210 metric tons of carbon dioxide, 30 metric tons of carbon is stocked in a monocrop coconut cultivation plantation. Potential for carbon trading is there, no? USA, United States of America, like countries are trading carbon stocks. They give money to have a certain hectares of carbon stock in a certain country. If Sri Lanka, if Kurunegala region have, let's say 100 hectares of carbon stock, 70 metric tons per hectare. What will happen? It will, USA will pay per hectare, per metric tons per hectare. If so, you can earn that money as a company, as an organization. So there is a potential. And in coconut reproductive stage is more sensitive to temperature and water stress, as I mentioned before, than the vegetative stage. Nearly 12 to 14 flowers are produced per year at regular intervals at each leaf axils, and 10 to 15 female flowers occur per inflorescence. There are uncountable number of male flowers at the top of the inflorescence. So inflorescence produce actually 10 to 15 female flowers, which later become nuts, button nuts. Then it will become tender nuts. Then it will become matured and become mature fruit with thick kernel. So drought can delay or abort the emergence of spike. Abort means stop. Drought can stop the emergence of spike. That means emergence of flowers will be delayed due to the less moisture. Growing conditions prior to spike emergence is critical for pollen quality. Prior to that, within the non-visual cycle, 32 months of non-visual cycle, inside the space we have the spike, and also inside the space we have pollens. We have generating pollens inside female flowers, male flowers, so that to maintain pollen quality, there should be a optimum or efficient temperature level, no? Not high temperature. So which is the main source of energy for pollen germination? In every plant, it is a critical thing. For the development of nanthers, we need to have sucrose. We should prevent sucrose burning. So as well as you should have if sufficient moisture. If not, pollen quality will be not be pollens will not be fertile. So pollen germination will be interrupted if the water is not sufficiently provided. If the temperature is high, pollen germination will be interrupted, limiting the spike emergence, limiting the number of flowers. Coconut needs regular water supply, and 30% to 40% yield fluctuation is there due to lack of rainfall. Due to lack of rainfall, 40% yield can be reduced, can be retarded. Development cycle of coconut bunch is, we know, 42 months. A non-visual cycle and visual cycle. Non-visual cycle is 32 months. After 32 months, flowering or the opening of the spathe will happen. Spathe hanasa will open, and the visual cycle is 12 months. First 3 to 4 months after flower opening is the critical for moisture stress. Butternut and immature nut food. I have discussed more about this in the first video of agronomy video. I have discussed about this development cycle. This also. So moisture stress retard growth, reduce the growth, and death of plants may occur, delay in flowering, reduce leaf production, thus reduce the number of inflorescences. Because in number of inflorescences per year is parallel to the number of leaves. So promote butternut shedding. Butternuts will be shedded, and immature will nuts also be fallen. Reduce the number of nuts, and reduce the size of the nut, reduce the thickness of the kernel, and reduce the pollen quality, as I mentioned before. With moisture conservation measures, plants able to withstand the adverse effects of drought and give satisfied yield year-round. By having a sufficient moisture level and a sufficient average level of temperature, you can have a higher yield, satisfied yield at the end, at the harvesting period. So, soil and moisture conservation in coconut land. What can we do to prevent the moisture loss, moisture stress, or conserve the water in coconut lands in dry zone area or the intermediate zone area? We can conserve the soil, because soil conservation is important in coconut lands to maintain productivity and profitability of the plantation. The main objective of soil conservation is to prevent surface runoff during rain period. So we can stop the runoff of water. You know, runoff is a part of the water cycle. When after raining, the water remain on the top of the mountains will flow on the slope of the mountain or the slope of the land. It will run off. So it can cause soil erosion, and also it will wash the topsoil, leaching the nutrients down away, especially in wet zone areas. In Colombo, Gamba, like this, Badulla, Nurili, like regions also, and wet intermediate zones. So therefore, adapting soil conservation measures are important, especially in gently slopy lands. Especially in slopy lands, it is required to stop the surface runoff. Soil conservation has additional benefit of conserving soil moisture too. So moisture conservation. Absorbing area 2 to 5 millimeter of the root lies just beyond the growing point. You know, growing point. That means when we see a root like this tip or the root cap area is the growing point. So absorbing area is around this region. This region will be the absorbing area, water absorbing area. These are covered with hard reddish brown color layers. They will not absorb water. These are permeable to water. So, and the rest of the area in root is impermeable to water. In prolonged drought, water absorbing region also develops a thick wall, making it impervious. Here we don't have in the root cap region, we don't have a thick impermeable reddish brown thick layer. But in due to the drought, severe drought condition, to prevent the excess water loss, thick wall will continue to grow in this region too. Therefore, what will happen? The number of roots, area of root that are able to absorb water will be reduced, will be lost. So roots so affect remain more or less in a resting condition. First, inactive growing parts of the root should be activated, and then growth and development of water absorbing regions should take place. Therefore, soil moisture conservation is essential to have this root water absorbing region in these roots. So palm subjected to severe drought takes long time period to come into previous production level. So if one time a severe drought is taken place, a long time period will be spent. Reducing the reduced yield will not be recovered very quickly, very immediately. It will take so much of long time to came into the previous production level. Main objective of soil moisture conservation is to store the rainwater received and conserve the moisture by minimizing evaporation. So, moisture conservation, in moisture conservation, evaporation of waterways should be limited. We should not have an open canal for irrigation in these drought having areas, because water will be evaporated. So what are the methods of soil and moisture conservation? How we can prevent that evaporation, excess evaporation? So we can mulch around the manure cycle. You know, I mentioned in the previous videos also. You can see my videos in the description. You can subscribe my channel and share to your friends also. So mulching materials, we can have coconut based materials, coconut husks, coconut fronds. You know, after the 26th leaf, they are parasitic leaves. We remove them, we cut and separate them. 30 after the 30th leaf, 26th leaf, we cut and remove the leaves. They are parasitic. So these leaves can be used to cover the fertilizer cycle of each plant. Husk, coconut husk, tree lopping, wheat trash. After weeding, wheat trash can also act as a multi-material. Straws can be used from rice production. So advantages are reduced evaporation, reduced weed growth due to not having sunlight to grow weed, and reduced erosion. Soil erosion will be reduced and reduced because the pressure of the raindrops will be stopped by this mulch when raining. So water runoff will also stopped, limited. Reduced soil temperature, the absorption of water into the coconut husk, coconut fibers can absorb water than the weight of 6 multiplied by 6 weight of their weight can be absorbed. 6 times weight of their weight can be water can be absorbed into the coconut fiber. Therefore, it will reduce the soil temperature. And to addition of nutrients and organic matter to the soil, the coconut fiber contain potassium. Potassium will be added. So burying of coconut husk in pits or trenches is another system, but it is somewhat labor required system, no? Coconut, because we have to bury, we have to dig holes. Coconut husk retain moisture 6 times of its weight. Coconut husk have, as I mentioned before, it can retain 6 times of its weight water. So rich in potassium, as I mentioned before, 1 tons of muriate of potash, that means potassium chloride, KCl. Muriate of potash means KCl. It is when artificially we can see the color is. So MOP or potassium chloride is reddish brick red color in artificial fertilizer type, but here it can be obtained very easily using coconut husk fibers. Coconut fibers contain potassium, rich in potassium. 1 tons of muriate of potash is there in um, 1 lakh of coconut husk. 1 lakh of coconut husk contain 1 ton of muriate of potassium. Benefits can gain for 5 to 6 years. Energy is needed to plant also. Energy is needed in plants also, even though they are photosynthesized, they need energy. So ATP consists of potash, adenosine triphosphate. So potassium is a important ingredient, important element for plants, for the transportation of mass flow, for the mass flow, transportation inside the stem, and also potassium can prevent diseases. It can prevent diseases. So these are the benefits of potassium, and potassium can increase the number of cations, number of basic cations, reducing the increasing the pH value to the pH of 6.5 to 7 normal neutral level. Acidity will be prevented. So benefits can gain from 5 to 6 years, and not recommend for waterlogged or ill-drained soil because it can create many other disease and pest conditions. Nematode problems will occur in ill-drained or waterlogging condition having soils. So coconut husk fits in between coconut palm. You can see layers. One layer of coconut husk and another layer soil. Likewise, it is filled. The pit is filled. This pit can be of length of around 2 meters by 2 or 3 meters by 3 if possible. So at least 3 foot should be the length of one side of this cuboidal shaped pit. And coconut husk pits in between coconut palms. Individual husk pits outside the manure cycle. Individual husk pits 1/3 circle of manure cycle. Coconut husk trenches. So in this picture we can see first picture is coconut husk pits in between coconut palm. In between the rows of coconut palm, we can have in a zigzag manner coconut husk pits, cuboidal shaped coconut husk pits, and cube shape with equal length sides pits we can have in individual husk pits outside the manure cycle, outside the manure ring manure cycle. You can have individual cube-shaped coconut husk pits, and you can, if not, you can have individual husk pits 1/3 circle of manure cycle, 1/3 circle of manure cycle. You can dig a ridge. Dig a furrow, or dig a what you call furrow can be dig a drain and fill it with husks and soil like this, 1/3 of the circle of manure circle. So coconut husk trenches also can be made like this, covering 3 rows of palms, coconut palms. So there are many methods you can do a research and enter into a plantation. Cover cropping, most effective method in wet zone and wet intermediate zone to control runoff and erosion is cover cropping. You know there are some cover crops such as Puroria Paisioloids. Puro. It is a leguminous cover crop. It is and Calapagonium mucinoids. Calapo, and Centrosema pubescens. Puroria facioloids and Centrosema pubescens. Puro, Calapo, Centrolite cover crops are the leguminous cover crops. Leguminous means they can have another advantage. They can fix nitrogen. They can absorb nitrogen gas from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrate NO3 minus using what? Using rhizobium bacteria inside the root nodules. It is another lesson for us. You can search more about nitrogen fixation in leguminous crops using the internet sources. And if you want, mention in the comments, I can do another video on leguminous nitrogen fixation too. Please visit my website, my channel and subscribe, watch videos. I have conducted lessons on English language and English literature and also science subjects. So bush covers, there are Glyceridium sapium is a good bush cover. You can cut regularly, and you can prune it and control its growth under the coconut plantation. You can have them. You can grow some pepper as an intercrop on these Glyceridia sapium bush covers. So cover cropping reduce the impact of raindrops. It will reduce the impact of reduce the speed of raindrops. Pressure onto the soil will be reduced, enhancing the water infiltration, percolation. So it will retain more water. Contour drains and bunds. Contour drains around the contour lines. You know the contour lines are there. For the coconut lands with contour line is a line circular line which is having a same height at each point of this line. Same height lines are known as contour lines. Around the contour lines, we can make drains. To make a contour line, you can use a simple instrument called A-frame. We can build a A-frame like this, 1.5 meters long. Letter A can be made, and you can hang a stone like this in the middle. So this line will be perpendicular. You can mark the perpendicular position 90 degrees. So when the line will be perpendicular, this angle is 90 degrees. The height of this line making between these 2 points of A letter are equal. Height is equal. So you can draw very simply contour lines. There is a special technique. If you want, I can put another video on that too. So advantages: reduce soil erosion, increase moisture conservation by improved infiltration. As mentioned before, contour drains can be built and it will increase the infiltration. We can fill them by coconut husk or using stones to increase the infiltration to prevent the water runoff speed. Rainwater harvesting is common in dry zone. In home gardens, we have rainwater harvesting vessels built up of build of semi-sphere shape. In coconut plantation, we can have a special kind of rainwater harvesting ponds like this in this picture. Or we can prepare a bund outside the manual cycle like this. You can prepare a bund to allowing to collect rainwater and infiltrate slowly. So water reservoirs like Pataha is, you can see this is the Pataha water reservoir within the land. You can build it in a low, not slopey area, in a lowland area. You can build it in the plantation. And adding organic matter will encourage root development and improve the water absorption, water returning ability also. And it will correct the pH too. pH value will be reducing the acidity. Salt, SALT, sloping agriculture land technology. It is title for another video. You can search from the internet or YouTube about this, or I can make another video about this. If you want, please mention in the comment. So intercropping with perennials give good ground cover and leaf mulch to conserve soil and moisture, as I mentioned before. So let's move into the intercropping and animal husbandry in coconut lands. Majority of coconut lands manage monocultures. Majority are monocultures. They are less productive. They are profitable. Monoculture means having only the coconut variety, coconut only. Intercropping is having another type of crop grown parallel to the coconut. So intercropping is suitable for less moisture limited areas under rain-fed conditions. That means wet zone, wet intermediate, not suitable for dry zone. It is more suitable for wet zone and wet intermediate zones. Because other crops will need water. There is a huge competition in dry zone for crops for more water. Water is very limited. Therefore, you should not grow intercrops intercrop with which have more high competition with coconut. So dry zone and intermediate zone with supplementary irrigation. So we can, if we have a supplementary irrigation like a huge tank, huge reservoir, huge patah, huge rainwater harvesting method with the supplementary irrigation, continuous irrigation, you can have intercropping in that dry zone or dry intermediate zone too. So land suitable classes are S3, S4 and S5. Most slopey regions can't be intercropped because earth slides can occur. There is a life threat. Earth slides or landslides can occur. And best planting system for intercropping is rectangular avenue planting system. Rectangular avenue planting system. So intercrop rows should be oriented along east-west directions. East-west direction. Intercrops should be oriented to facilitate optimum sunlight. East-west direction is the correct direction for having everything. For having the door side, also we should direct it to east-west direction of the greenhouses. We should direct the door side to the east-west direction because to facilitate the optimum sunlight and ventilation. For slopey lands, intercropping is done along the contours because having similar heights is an essential thing for having a similar nutrient level. Therefore, to have similar same height, we have to build contour lines and do the intercropping. The intercropping, the competition between intercrop and coconut should be minimized. Hence, intercrops are allowed 2 meters away from coconut plants. 2 meters away to avoid the moisture and fertilizer competition. Factors to consider for a successful intercrop. Age of plantation. You have to think about the age. During the seedling age, you can have you cannot have competition having plants such as cover crops. Pure apacaloid you cannot have in the seedling and big because the vines will entangle the plant, creating acting as an alternate host-like problems for pest problems. So at the age of 25, you can grow banana intercrops, banana like things, coffee like things, because the plant is grow, plant is somewhat mature and have grown into a somewhat height. So we can grow some height having crops such as banana, coffee. So soil moisture is another factor to consider. Wet zone and wet intermediate zones has proper soil moisture content in soil. If not, we should supply irrigation need to consider. Plants, nutrients. Fertilizers are recommended from Agricultural Department 2013 recommendation can be used for both intercrops and coconut. Need to provide on time to prevent any competition between coconut and intercrop. We have to provide fertilizer for each crops in the field, intercrop and the crop. Soil characteristics like soil texture, drainage, uh, water holding capacity, pH, cation exchange capacity, CEC, appropriate for intercrop need to consider. Land suitable class should also be considered. S3, 4, 5 are suitable classes. Rainfall and climate based on the agroecological requirements of the intercrop. You should observe the rainfall climate using the data from climatological department. And slope of the land, slopy lands, perennials which cause less soil disturbance. We can grow in slopy lands. Flat or generally slopy lands, crops that require intensive land preparation can be grown. So economic factors such as market, labor availability, farm preference can also be considered. So let's look at the age of the plantation. At the first stage, that means 0 to 5 years, intercropping is possible as enough sunlight is penetrated. No? Less competition for resources like nutrients, moisture, and sun rays. So possible to grow annuals, semi-perennials, pineapple, passion fruit, papaya, guava, cassava, manioc. Like vegetables, we can grow it in these more sunlight having regions. After the fifth years of growth, 5 years of growth, between 6 to 20 years, inadequate sunlight is there due to the canopy closure. Canopies will be very close, no, during the 6 to 20 years. Uh, this is called as mutual shading. Due to that, intercropping is generally not possible except shade tolerant loving plants such as grasses, yams. Yams, you can grow yams, ginger, turmeric, and it will prevent the other weeds also. Other weeds and also diseases or pest nematode problems will also be reduced. And stage 3, 21 to 50 years. So the 21st and 50th year, we can do intercropping because plant height is somewhat high, and sunlight is penetrating to the ground. You can see sunlight is penetrating to the ground. Only 25% of the land is being effectively utilized for the coconut during this period. You have 75% to grow and intercrop. Water nutrients available beyond the manure cycle. Beyond the manure cycle, water is available, no? So that water and manure can be used for an intercrop. 40 to 80% of incident light is filtered down to the understory. 40 to 80% light is coming under this understory. So that light can be used to grow intercrops. Perennial, semi-perennial, annual type intercrops can be accommodated. Pepper, cinnamon, banana, pineapple, beetle, and ginger, turmeric can also be grown. So at the age of 51 to 70 years, since replanting or underplanting has to be carried out this stage, it is not possible to grow perennials. We have to carry out replanting of all plants. So yet annuals or perennials are possible, like pineapple and banana are possible, but perennials are not allowed. So let's see the annual or less than 1 year lifespan having crops: ginger, turmeric, vegetables, seasonal crops like pulses, cereals, tubers, yams are there. Semi-perennials or are having 2 to 5 years of lifespan: pineapple, passion fruit, banana, papaya, beetle. In indigenous Canadian organs, we have beetle and pepper vines grown on the stem of the trunk of the coconut trunks. So perennials, more than 10 years lifespan is they have in perennials: cocoa, coffee, pepper, clove, cinnamon, tea, citrus, areca nut, guava, mango, cashew, rambutan, pasture, and fodder. So benefits of intercropping or monocropping. There are a lot of benefits, innumerous benefits. Increase light use efficiency, LUE. The light penetrated into at the age of 25, only there are more than 40 to 80% of light is penetrated into the understory. You can use this light efficiently, no? So maximize resource use, land, soil, water, nutrient. Also, you can maximize. During the seedling stage, you have a huge space between two seedlings, around 0 to 5 years of old age plantations. So this land, soil, water, nutrients can be utilized for intercrops. You can have ginger, turmeric like intercrops, and also you can have perennials too. So add organic matter. Yes, they will add organic matter. Improve soil fertility by having leguminous cover crops and intercrops such as Turia basiloids. It will fix nitrogen in the soil. Reduce soil temperature as it retains more and more it absorbing heat from the sun rays, and the intercrops will transpirate, reducing the heat of the soil. So by absorbing this heat from the soil, the water is transpirated through the intercrop. It will create a reduction of soil temperature. Reduce weeds. Actually, the whole area is covered with effective plants, effective crops, intercrops. Therefore, there will be no space for weeds. So it will reduce the soil erosion as reducing the speed of raindrops, and increase the coconut production, increase the land productive, reduce risk of crop failure and monoculture, provide supplementary source of income. You can have another income from another pineapple. By say you can sell pineapple, you can prepare pineapple based fruit, and ensure food security in our country. Pasture and livestock under coconut. Greater potential is there with coconut lands in low country, wet zone, and intermediate zone, because it can be used for livestock. You can tie the cows and bulls onto the trunks of coconut. It will encourage the weeding also. It will remove the weeds by grazing. Cows will graze the grass, and Encouraged to raise cattle, goat, sheep on improved pasture and fodder. Yes. Suitability of coconut for pastoralized system. Conducive light environment. Light is around 50% light under the coconut. It is favorable to do the good ventilation of these cows, and also lower air temperature under coconut, cool environment. We know we in Sinhala we call Olruppaval. We tie cows in this Olruppaval region to facilitate the cooling of their bodies. It will facilitate prolonged grazing, increasing the feed intake. Improve the productivity of coconut lands in S3, S4, S5 are the land suitable classes for coconut cultivation. Dry zone or dry intermediate zone coconut lands can effectively use with less risk than for intercropping because there is more risk. Competition for moisture will be developed by using intercropping in dry zone because there is very limited water sources, water moisture content in the soil. Due to that, we can increase the moisture content by using by tying the cows around these lands by integrating pasteurized system. They will urinate in the same place and they will put cow dung there. Their digestive waste will become fertilizer, become more moisture content, and prevent the weeds by grazing of grass. So genetic improvement. So genetic improvement is needed to have more resistant, pest resistant, drought resistant coconuts varieties, cultivars, improved cultivars we should have in future to fight for the different situations that will be in because nowadays we have the problem called global warming. It will increase the means the temperature, atmospheric temperature, causing droughts, causing water scarcity. So varieties and forms of coconut. Variety in coconut refers to single population with specific morphological characters. So I actually explained this in my first video about agronomy of coconut. Please watch. It is mentioned in the description. So three distinct varieties based on morphological characters. Typica, Nana, Orontiaca. I explained fully about these types. Improved coconut cultivars, CRI 60, CRI 65, CRI still 98, Kapruana, Kapru, Kapseta. I mentioned about the seed garden, isolated seed garden, Ambalkali, and Makandura, Maduroye, and Pallam. So these are mentioned in my agronomy of coconut video. You can revise it. So the coconut breeding is very difficult as they crossbreed. No viable vegetable propagation method, long juvenile period, a long economic lifespan, less number of seed nuts. Application of molecular marker techniques, diversity analysis, hybrid evaluation, DNA fingerprinting are the new techniques. Application of molecular marker techniques. Application of tissue culture can also be applied. So this is an important point. CRI, Coconut Research Institute produced 1.5 million, only 50% of annual seed nut requirement for the national replanting program. Rest is made by state selections by such as Morocco state toll selection and plus farms. I have a clear description about that. I described them in my video agronomy of coconut. Please watch it under the description. It is linked. So I hope you gain some knowledge about coconut. Let's meet in another video. Thank you all for listening. Be safe.